I've been in some toxic relationships, but I don't think any of them were nearly as bad as this one toxic friendship I once had. Let's call him Greg. I met Greg in my freshman year of high school, and I hate myself for ever feeling this way, but I had a crush on him. Like, I had mad feels for this dude, so I forced myself to start talking to him. I usually avoid speaking to new people because I'm a very shy person, and I don't do so well in social situations. Greg and I became fast friends. We had a lot in common. We both liked the same genres of music. We both loved Tim Burton movies. And we both loved to draw. And like me, Greg was a quiet kid that kept to himself. He also came to my school a little later in the year, so he didn't have a lot of friends at first. And neither did I. At first, Greg was a really nice dude. We seemed to be getting along great. I thought he was really cool. We had a lot in common. He tolerates my weirdness. Not that he himself wasn't a little weird, but that's alright. I finally decided to add him on Facebook one day. I didn't really have his number, and I really wanted to talk to him after school somehow. I was too shy to ask for his number. Greg and I became best friends that year. But the following year, something changed. Like he flipped the switch and became a different person overnight. One night while we were texting via Facebook Messenger, Greg started insulting me. Now, I wasn't too bothered by it, because he was only joking around, and I insulted him back. Some friends just like to tease and poke fun at each other, and there's no real harm done, right? I didn't really mind it all that much. It was funny and entertaining, but it just kept escalating from there. I started missing how our friendship used to be. I was starting to get a little tired of it. Yeah, I was still spitting back at him, but not as nearly as much as Greg would to me. That soon became our entire friendship, just insulting each other. I know I contributed. I'm not innocent in this case. But I tried to only jokingly insult Greg when he did it first, for the most part. I'm sorry, but that's not a real friendship. It's one thing to joke around like that with your friends every once in a while, but not all the fucking time. Oh, but he didn't stop there. Oh no. Greg began making fun of my art, which I was really passionate about. It was the whole reason I went to that high school in the first place, because it was an art school. Greg probably thought he was being funny every time he made fun of my art, but I wasn't laughing. Art was one of the only things that made me happy. Now every time I draw, all I can hear is Greg's voice in the back of my mind telling me how bad my art is. And it wasn't even constructive criticism. He just clowned at how wrong it looked and laughed. He would just look for the tiniest little flaw in my art and use that to go on about how wrong the entire piece looked and that my style and how I drew things were wrong. Like, buddy, there's more than one style of art. There's more than one way to draw anime and cartoons, which is what I mostly drew. And I've seen his art too. It's far from perfect. His art's got flaws too. I wanted to go off on Greg so badly, but all I could really respond with most of the time was things like, fuck off. At one point, the teacher pulled me aside after class one day and asked me if I'd like to talk to Greg for me about this. I had to lie to my teacher and tell him that Greg was only joking and that it didn't bother me. I really wish I had just told the truth. Would it have even made a difference? Yeah, fucking right. All I can do at that point was try to ignore him whenever he made fun of my drawings. Junior year rolls around, and I find myself hooked on an anime called Black Butler. I loved Black Butler so much that I was constantly making fan art references and even wrote a few fan fictions. Greg liked the anime as well. Yet another thing we could fangirl or fanboy over. Nope. One day, he asked me to tone it down around him, as I was getting annoying with all the references and whatnot. I understood and backed off. I didn't want to upset Greg, so I avoided bringing up Black Butler around him. He seemed fine for a while. But then, out of the blue, he told me that I ruined anime for him, despite that I stopped talking about Black Butler around him, and that I wasn't even watching any other anime. Craig went around telling all our friends not to talk about Black Butler or anime in general around me because I'll just ruin it for them. I felt so embarrassed and pissed off at the same time. Like, why? Why would he do that? I respected Greg's wishes. Black Butler wasn't the only thing I used to be into when I was a teenager, and it never bothered him. But now, all of a sudden, anime is ruined because I watched Black Butler and fangirled over it? It's not like it was all I ever talked about either. I knew when to shut up about it. But I guess that wasn't enough and the damage had already been done. I wanted to go to my parents and my teachers about this. Greg was taking things too far and humiliating me so badly in front of all of her friends. But I never told any adults, because for the most part, my parents told me I wasn't allowed to watch that anime anyways, since, it's about a boy making a deal with a demon. I did snap at Greg more than once over this, but it didn't help. He would leave the subject alone for only a little while before starting back up again. Plus, I would feel bad the next day for snapping at him. This was getting ridiculous and hypocritical. And I'm saying that because Greg was obsessed with Doctor Who and Homestuck. It's all he ever fucking talked about, and would go on rants about those two things. Greg talked more about Doctor Who and Homestuck than I did about Black Butler. He had no room to be saying I talk too much about Black Butler when he literally did the same thing with Doctor Who and Homestuck. I wanted to turn the tables on him and tell all our friends not to talk about those two topics around Greg, just so he would understand how I felt. But I didn't. I just kept telling myself, friends don't do that to each other, and two wrongs don't make a right. I really wish I brought up Greg's obsessions whenever I tried telling him off. But I was stupid and let him put me down. I still had feelings for him and didn't want to lose him as a friend. Yeah, I never once thought to myself, oh, he's kind of a shitty friend. Why on earth would you want to go out with his stupid ass? He'd probably treat me the same way, if not worse. When I got to my senior year, Greg had finally stopped humiliating me and left me alone about anime. The nightmare was finally over. I don't know if Greg finally realized what a complete asshole he was being, or someone told him off, or what. But I was just glad it was over. Well, that part anyways. He still, made fun of my art, but it's whatever at that point. I figured that after we graduated high school and became adults, things would be better between us. I was dead fucking wrong. A few years after high school, he texted me one day and admitted that he had feelings for me and asked me out. After all these years, now he returned my feelings. However, I had already gotten over my feelings for him, and I was dating someone else at the time. Those feelings did come and go after I broke up with my boyfriend. I even told Greg I'd think about it, but I just kept reminding myself of what an awful friend he was, and hasn't really changed, and that I was only feeling this way because I was going through a breakup. He dated someone else in high school, and I watched him destroy that relationship. He dated my best friend not too long ago, and destroyed that relationship too. So why the hell should I go out with him after everything that's happened? I told him that I wasn't interested, but he wouldn't listen. He kept trying to ask me out, and I would always turn him down. I tried my best to let him down gently and to not be an ass about it. I still cared about him, and I didn't want to ruin our friendship. Yet, it was already falling apart, now that he had feelings for me. Our friendship can't exactly be the same. He did eventually leave it alone for a little while. So one day, I asked Greg if he wanted to hang out at a bar to see a few local metal bands. Like I said, it had been a while since he tried asking me out. I just wanted to hang out with a friend, you know? Greg told me he would only hang out with me if I considered it a date. You motherfucker! Needless to say, I didn't go to the bar that night. The event ended up being canceled anyways because of COVID. It was right around the time the lockdown first started, too. That was the final straw. Greg clearly doesn't want to be friends, so what's the point in trying? I started ignoring him after that. As much as I really wanted to answer his texts, I forced myself not to. It took me a couple of weeks to muster up the courage to block his number, as well as blocking him on all social media. I don't understand why it was so hard to make that decision, but it's been over a year since I've spoken to him, and sometimes I feel like reconnecting with him. But Greg was a toxic friend. I'd rather not find out how he'd treat me if I was his girlfriend. It's been hard not to reach out to him, because I considered him one of my closest friends, and I cared too much. But it's over now, and I know I can move on. Toxic relationships of any kind, whether it be with friends, your significant other, or family, are really difficult to walk away from, especially if you care a lot about said toxic individual. Sometimes I wonder if I made the right call when I cut Greg out of my life. But you know what? I actually do feel better now. It's been a year and I'm only just now starting to feel somewhat comfortable drawing. I still was drawing back then, even when I was friends with Greg, but I never really felt joy or satisfaction whenever I made any kind of art because I could still hear Greg telling me how bad it was. I know I'm not the perfect artist. Nobody is. But, anyways, if there are toxic people in your life, you know, whether it's family members, your significant other, or even your friends, I really hope that one day you'll find the courage to walk away from those people. I know that's hard, and it's a lot easier said than done, but just trust me, once you cut out toxic people from your life, things will get better for you. You'll be okay. Maybe not at first, but you will be. As long as you let time heal you. But I hope Greg is just, I really hope that he's become a much better person now than how he used to be both back when I knew him, and I just wish the best for him. And Greg, if you're watching this, I'm sorry for how things ended between us. I wish things could have been different. Sometimes I wish that we still could have been friends had things been different. But I can't change the past. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're living your best life. And, yeah, I just wish the best for you. And, I do forgive you, alright? But yeah, thank you so much for watching.
subscribe if you want. And like always, stay weird, my friends.
Later.